Hey again, everyone. It is RobbRyder on, I believe it's July 1st, actually, 2015. And returning to the secular side of things, we're going to look at things to do with elections and why it's important. Because, hey, they're supposed to have a certificate that says they were elected, and that's everybody from the senator down to the local school board, basically. But for most of us that may have legal issues, it certainly includes judges. So if you're going to court and a judge can't produce a certificate of election, well, then that would be antitrust. Actually, be antitrust for any of them to say they were elected and not be able to provide you a certificate. And as it turns out, you can put complaints in to the Attorney General's office for antitrust. And that'd be called a consumer's complaint. And again, the definition of a consumer by the Federal Trade Commission is anyone who owes a debt or is alleged to owe a debt. Not how many Big Macs you ate. Right? If you either owe a debt or alleged to owe a debt. And if you're new to this stuff, I assure you, somebody is alleging you owe them something. And they're going to do everything they can to get you to comply to their request for your donation. Lack of a better way of putting it. In other words, they're going to steal your property. But so what we're looking at here, this is off of uscode.house.gov, right? Government website. The U.S. Code. And this is Title 2, Chapter 1, Election of Senators and Representatives, in which, when it talks about senators, it says, blah, 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 United States Senator from said state shall be elected by the people thereof for a term commencing the 3rd day of January next thereafter. Okay, well, that sounds reasonable. How about this, though? Election to be certified by the governor or by governor. It shall be the duty of the executive of the state from which the senator was chosen to certify his election under the seal of the state to the president of the Senate of the United States. Okay, so the governor, apparently, of the state needs to certify, hey, this guy was actually elected, here's my seal, and addressed to the president of the Senate of the United States. The certificate mentioned in Section 1A of this title shall be countersigned by the Secretary of State. Okay, so there should have been a certificate sent to the President of the Senate of the United States showing that somebody was elected as the senator. However, if you ask the United States Senate, Washington, D.C., this is from Richard J. Durbin's office, where it says, upon receipt of your latest correspondence, Senator Durbin has asked me to reply to you. So this is the senator speaking. After thorough review of privacy release form you provided our office, it appears there's nothing we can assist you with. Dealing with the federal agency, we do not have access to certificates kept by the governor of Illinois, Illinois Secretary of State, or the president of the Senate. But he was the one who was supposed to give it to the Senate, to the president of the Senate. Yeah, he can't get a copy of it. Right? So the senator can't get a copy of his certificate that says he was elected to office. So I just wanted to look here, because here he said Richard J. Durbin. And I guess he just calls himself Senator Durbin. They have a habit of changing words, right? Or changing phrases, terms, so forth. But maybe not in that case. But still, nevertheless, hey, he doesn't have one. Well, dang. Well, Roe also asked, she asked the governor's office. This letter is responsive to your Illinois free request, seeking, now why do they put them brackets around the C, right? Because that isn't how she did it, but they did it. Certificate. Right? It's like, no, that isn't what she said. She said certificate of election. for Senator Richard J. Durbin for 2 SUSC 1, right? Mandate Senator to deliver the certificate of election to the President of the Senate from the governor of the senator state. The governor's office conducted search and found no document responsive to your request. Well, the senator doesn't have it, and apparently the governor's office doesn't know anything about it. Office of the Illinois Attorney General. I should make sure that isn't a separate one, because these were run together. So just, I don't know that this part, Office of the Illinois Attorney General, goes to this part. But this part certainly came from the governor's office. Well, then, so Roe sent an email to the Board of Elections. You requested a copy of the certificate of election for Senator Durbin. Please be advised the Secretary of State's Office Index Division prepares certificates of election. The State Board of Elections does not possess copies of such records. So the State Board of Elections doesn't have it. And so Roe went and asked who they said, which is the Index Department. And the Index Department said does not house the information you have requested, as we have stated in previous correspondence regarding the requested date. Of course, we'd already asked these things before, Well, in this case, we'd asked these things before, and it's like, well, okay, what are we going to do now? Well, we're going to go ask everybody, and now nobody can produce this certificate of election that a guy named Richard J. Durbin is a senator of a United States senator from the state of Illinois. There's no evidence, there's no record to substantiate the claim. It may be presumed that he is, and people act like he is, but it's a long way from being the law. That's called custom, and that custom is what got us in this problem, and we need to go back to law, and so we need to be the peacemakers and the law abiders and the righteous people to say, well, this is what it says you have to have, and if you don't, then apparently you're involved in antitrust activity. Oh, well, that's different. Hadn't thought about it like that before. Well, yeah, you're lying to me. That's antitrust. Well, I could take and do an antitrust complaint to somebody. I could say, well, apparently, because you don't have your certificate, whoever was supposed to have given you your certificate needs to have a performance and compliance audit done. Maybe there's more like you. And of course there are, because none of these people have these elections. And I'm going to show you where to find this stuff. So that's what this video is about. Well, here's where you can find it. This may be what you would ask for, and this could be important, especially if you're going to go to court. And you may want to say, well, Judge, I need to see a certificate of your election. Because if you don't have one, then you're simulating a legal process using color of law, and that's a human rights violation. So give me just a second here. I've got to turn this off so I can clear some pages. I'll be right back. Okay, now, not every state's the same, so I can't say how it's going to be any particular place, but every state has some kind of election code. In fact, this is Michigan's, right? Michigan election law, 287 pages long. It's a lot to read, but we don't necessarily have to read the whole thing. If you can get yourself a PDF like this that lets you do edit and find and go look for a word, well, now you can start searching on keywords, and that makes things much quicker. So I did that, and I'm not going to do it again right here, but I'll just show you the things I was looking for. And I like to copy and paste, put them onto a Word document and read them. Now, in Illinois, they don't have such a thing. I can't find it in a PDF, but they do have it all listed online. And if you want to, you can copy and paste the whole thing, which I've done before. But this isn't about all that. So you're looking for things that people have to have done to be properly elected. Go see if it's been done. If it hasn't been done, don't question it. Say, well, then you're not really holding the office. This is antitrust. And go file a complaint with the Attorney General. And we'll bombard the Attorney General's office with antitrust complaints about people pretending to hold an office they don't have authorization to hold. They can't prove they hold the office. So it must be a private court, or you must not really be a public utility. You're just a private bill collector. Or, you're trying to take my property and make it look like I've done something wrong, and I'm the only one that's going to sign the paper, and it'll be a gift and donation to you. What a deal. So, so this is out of the Illinois law, and it says, except as provided in subsection B, the canvass of votes cast at a consolidated election shall be conducted by the election authority within 21 days after the close of the election. So, in Michigan, they have to, first thing in Michigan they would have to do is they have to put in an affidavit of candidacy. That's one of the first things. I didn't find that in Illinois, but it doesn't mean I can't find something to use. So I'm looking, okay, except as provided in subsection B, the canvass of votes cast at the consolidated election shall be conducted by the election authority within 21 days. Who's the election authority and what are they supposed to do within 21 days? That's all I want to know. Canvass the votes. All right. So, what is that? Well, so you're looking for things to do with canvass and votes. The Board of Elections was provided in another shall canvass the votes. So who's going to do it? Well, the Board of Election Commissioners is going to canvass the votes. Well, now we know who they are. They were the election authority. Now it's the Board of Election Commissioners. For offices of any political subdivision entirely within the jurisdiction of the Municipal Board of Election Commissioners. Okay, so they do it for offices that are within their jurisdiction. So I guess they wouldn't be doing state offices. They'd be doing like local government offices. Or maybe it's a state office where it is just within their jurisdiction and it doesn't cross boundaries. I don't know, but it's the Board of Election Commissioners, right? So somebody go look for. But one of the things they're going to end up doing after they canvass the votes is they make up this thing within the 21 days now, right? Abstract of votes. Within 21 days after close of election and at which candidate for office hereafter named in this section are voted upon, the election authorities, and those was the, whatever their name was, we just looked at them up here. Who were the election authorities? Well, one of them is the Board of Election Commissioners. Okay. Them guys, the Board of Election Commissioners. The respective counties shall open the returns and make abstract of votes. What are they going to do? Well, they're going to make an abstract of vote on separate sheet for each of the following. One for the governor and lieutenant governor, one for state officers, one for presidential electors, United States senators, representatives, judge, right? Everybody's going to get an abstract of votes. So the election, within 21 days, they're going to canvass the vote, which means they're going to survey, they're going to count this stuff, split it up, say who got what. And election authorities are going to make an abstract of votes on separate sheets of paper. On and on and on. Multiple originals of each sheet shall be prepared, and one of each shall be turned over to the chairman of the county central committee of each of the existing established political parties as defined in 10-2, or his officially authorized representative immediately after their completion of the entries. So we know for sure one guy who's got a copy is the chairman of the county central committee. Each existing public party, right? So you could go and ask him, hey, I need to see these, I believe they call them abstracts of votes for the last election. How do we do? If you won't give them to him, you say, well, the law says you're supposed to have one. You don't give it to me, it's antitrust. I'm going to turn you in. Go write a complaint, turn it in. And then go, keep looking for them. The foregoing abstract shall be preserved by the election authority in its office. Well, who is that again? Right? The election authority's got a copy. Well, who are they? Well, that's the Board of Election Commissioners. You can go talk to them. Do a FOIA. Ask for a copy. Make them answer. Do it in writing. Make them answer. So when you don't get it, you can say, well, this is evidence of antitrust. No person who is shown by an election authority's proclamation. Who does the proclamations? The election authority. Because they may send you something that says proclamation, but it may not say it's from the election authority. That would look something like this. This is what they're, here's the crap they're trying to push past Roe right now, that's just hilarious. If it wasn't so important to get this shit done, it's funny to do, but man, I want to be done with it. So this is a proclamation from the state of Illinois' executive department. I don't know who that is, but it don't say anything about it being the election people. And whereas on this date, 4th of November 2014. Election was held. State of Illinois for the election of the following judges to wit. And so all of these judges, right, circuit court judges. I mean, as you can see, I don't know if you can see, they're just name after name after name. You can just stop and look, right? All these people are supposedly been elected. And now they're going to fill the vacancies of these judges. All right, it goes on and on and on and on and on and on, right? I mean, it looks like it's, it looks like it's legit. Right, but Pat Quinn isn't the governor. That's not his official capacity. I mean, is that what he was elected in? Is that what I'm going to find on his affidavit of identity? Is Pat Quinn? Jesse White, is that what I'm going to find on his? So anyways, this isn't done right because they weren't supposed to do it. The election people are, and that's the board and as we'll see, the State Board of Elections. They're the election authority, not the governor. And no person who is shown by the election authority's proclamation to have been elected at a consolidated election or general election by write-ins, blah, 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 right? They make it. The county clerk shall make out a certificate of election to each of the persons having the highest number of votes for the several county offices and deliver such certificates to the person entitled to it on his application. So you're going to go ask the judge, maybe in writing. I mean, I wouldn't wait till I'm going to court. If you guys want to play in court, then send it to the judge. Say, Judge, I'm going to have a copy of your certificate of election. Because if you don't have one and I have to go before your court, I'm going to have to say this is antitrust and file a complaint with who? Well, I believe it's the Attorney General. It's a place to take it. Ah, 22.7. The State Board of Elections shall proceed within 31 days after the election and sooner if all returns received to canvass of votes given for United States senators, representatives to Congress, state executive officers, judges of the Supreme Court, judges of the Appellate Court, judges of the Circuit Court, senators, representatives, state attorneys, and regional superintendents of schools. All these people are going to have they're going to be canvassed by the State Board of Elections. So now it's no longer the county, whatever they call themselves. I should have wrote the name down, but the county board. No, now we're at the state board. And the persons having the highest number of votes for respective office shall be declared duly elected. Well, so it's the job of the State Board of Elections to declare that somebody has been duly elected. Well, they don't seem to want to do that. They act like they don't know what you're talking about. We don't have the certificates. We don't do the certificate. I don't want the certificate of election. I want you to certify that the person was elected. Right? I don't want a certified copy of something. I want you to certify that the copy you gave me is the original. And to each person duly elected, the governor shall give a certificate of election or commission as the case may require, and shall cause proclamation to be made of a result of the canvass. Well, forgive me, maybe you don't have a certificate of election. Well, then just give me your commission or your certificate of commission or whatever you have that fulfills the requirements of 10 ILCS 5/22-7. Canvass of votes, declaration of proclamation of results. Right? Where's the paper? You don't give me paper. I'm going to say it's antitrust because you're not who you say you are. Right? You better show me some authority for you to be sitting there in a gown. Or you're just a cross-dresser and you're out of here. Forgive me. Nothing personal. No person who is shown by canvass of board's proclamation. Right? The board's proclamation. Well, we went and asked for the board's proclamation for these offices, because again, this is the State Board of Elections doing the judges. Here's the proclamation. It doesn't say State Board of Elections. It says Executive Department Proclamation, State of Illinois. Done by the governor, but I don't believe the governor to be on the State Board of Elections. I'd have to go look again to see, but I don't believe he is. I think that, those are people appointed to an office to oversee the election process, and they're the regulators, and so their function is no different than the regulators of utilities, and they share a lot in common because neither of them are doing their job, and they both need to be audited. Financial, performance, and compliance. All right, get the Inspector General in there. Okay, that was that one. So in Michigan, it's a little bit different, right? And I spent a little more time on this one because this is my state. But so this first one, this is really kind of what you would see on any office. This one's for county auditor, but it could have said county clerk, county treasurer, yada, 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 right? Vacancy and creation. So the office of county auditor in any county in this state shall become vacant upon the happening of any of the following events. His refusal or neglect to take the prescribed to constitutional oath of office and deposit the same in the manner and the time prescribed by law. Well, the one they give you isn't the one prescribed by the Constitution. This is Michigan now, and I've done plenty of videos and showed it, but you just had to take my word for it. Or go check it yourself. But for all these reasons, the office can be vacant. It could die, could resign, could be removed for cause, could cease to be a resident of the county, could be convicted for crime, an offense involving a violation of his oath of office, the decision of a competent tribunal declaring his election or appointment to be void. Well, I wonder who that could be. Well, we're going to find out who it is in Michigan. Oh, but I'll tell you, because I already put it in parentheses, it's the County State Board of Canvassers in Michigan. It could be different elsewhere. But vacant office, somewhere in your election code, you're going to find stuff about it, and you want to see when does that office become vacant. And if it says his refusal to take and prescribe the constitutional oath of office, which they haven't, you can get copies of oaths of offices from people who say they're in office, but it's not the one that's in the Constitution. Well, then it's antitrust. Right? We can't be taking these complaints back to them. You can't go into the courtroom with the black robe priest and complain about the black robe priest. You can go in there and cast his demon out. Right? But don't complain about it. He's been possessed by the devil. The man isn't your problem. All right? This is spiritual warfare. It's got nothing to do with the man. I'm sorry he got possessed by the devil, to be quite honest. I didn't live his life. I don't know what he had to put up with in his childhood. I'm going to forgive him, cast his demon out. We can all go live in paradise. Okay, so just a few examples then. So the governor, lieutenant governor of Michigan, certificate of determination. So that's what we're looking for, certificate of determination. That's a good term to remember. Anytime you see certificate, it's good, but it's better if you can tie it to something else because there's many kinds of certificates. By the State Board of Canvassers. The Board of State Canvassers, what? Yes, they shall is the most powerful word in the dictionary, determine which candidates for governor and lieutenant governor have received the greatest number of votes, and there it is again, shall declare such candidates to be duly elected. It's the job of the Board of State Canvassers to declare which candidates have been duly elected. The said board shall forthwith make and subscribe on its statement of return a certificate of such determination and deliver the same to the Secretary of State. So apparently they have this, statement of returns. Here's the document, and now they're going to say it's correct, and they're going to certify it by putting a certificate on it. What kind of certificate? Well, a certificate of determination. I've not seen one, but I can read what it says and say, well, just give me the one that says here in the law. Oh, you can't give me one that's following this law? Well, then I believe that would be antitrust. So you would imagine the governor would, right? And then they shall file in his office. So for the governor and the lieutenant governor, the Secretary of State shall file in his office and preserve the original statement and determination of the Board of State Canvassers. Who made the determination? The Board of State Canvassers. And deliver to the persons thereby declared to be elected to the office of governor, lieutenant governor, certificates of election certified by him under the Great Seal of the state. So they may have something hanging on their wall, but what I want to see is, where is this piece of paper? Preserve the original statement and determination of the Board of State Canvassers. Where's that at? Because what's happening is the state board isn't certifying the elections. Secretary of State, certificate of determination by the Board of State Canvassers. Right? So these are just the different offices now. Now Secretary of State and Attorney General. Well, they still have a certificate of determination by the Board of State Canvassers. The said board shall forthwith make subscribe on its statement of return a certificate of determination. Where are you going to find it? On the statement of returns. There will be a certificate of determination, or it hasn't been done right. Right? You just need to be able to read a procedure and say, I'm baking a cake and I ain't going to the next step until this one is done just the way it said. And shall is the most powerful word in the dictionary. Because the Secretary of State shall file in his office and preserve original statements of determination of the Board of State Canvassers. Shall forthwith execute and cause to be delivered to the persons thereby declared to be elected. Office of Secretary of State and Attorney General, certificates of election. Brother, show me your certificate of election. Certified. By him. By who? Well, by the Secretary of State. Under the Great Seal of the state, I guess. Certified by who? Make them tell you. Make them tell you and certify it. If they can't, well, okay, then that's why you want it in writing. And I don't know what the Attorney General is going to do, but if we could send them a bunch of shit to make them do something, just to see if they make a move, it would be helpful. Because if you don't do nothing, they don't have to do anything. You make it too damn easy for them. Because once they answer you, you just eliminated 99% of the shit in the world that could have been, and now we're down to this right here, and I need to pare it in half again on my next question, and then pare that in half when I get that answer, and pare that in half. And law of physics, you can only fold something 7 times in half. That's what I was told. I was never even able to get that far, so apparently you can do it 7 times. United States Senator, certificate of determination by the Board of State Canvassers. Well, there it is, right? Go to the Board of State Canvassers. I want to see the certificate of determination. The Board of State Canvassers shall determine which candidate, United States Senator, had received the greatest number of votes and shall declare such. Who will? The Board of State Canvassers shall declare such candidate to be duly elected. And off to the Secretary of State. Yep. Representative of Congress shall file in his office, preserve. Well, who's doing this? Well, the Secretary of State is, filing more paperwork. Something to do with, his certificate of determination. Jeepers, it's really repetitive, isn't it? Yes, they all have to do the same thing. County officers, certificate of election, publication of certificate, determination. Now we got maybe some different words. Different people involved, but for this group of people, this is how they need to do it. Now you're in your county. The other ones were state offices. Now these are county offices. Certificate of election, publication, certificate of determination, and statement of votes. New term, statement of votes. The clerk what? Yes, shall file in his office, preserve original statement and determination of the Board of County Canvassers. So we're dealing with these people called the Board of County Canvassers. And the clerk is going to file their original statement and determination in his office. So the clerk has it. It should have been done by the Board of State Canvassers. And it should be an original statement and determination. And shall immediately execute and cause to be delivered to the person certified, properly certified certificate of election. I don't have section 200 in here, but if I did, it would list all the offices we're talking about. certified by him under the seal of the who? The county. The county seal. Not the state seal, not the county clerk seal, not the treasurer's seal, not the township seal. No. The county seal. Unless the township seal is the county seal. Whatever the seal of the county is. Terms of office, county officers, oath of office, bond deposit, right? These are the things they need to do. It says right here in Michigan that every person elected in that list at number 200 before entering upon the duties of office shall take and subscribe the oath provided in Section 1, Article 11 of the state constitution, and with the exception of the prosecuting attorney shall give bond in the amount and manner prescribed by law, and shall deposit said oath with the county clerk and said bond with the county treasurer. Oh, you ain't got it? Well, apparently I would call that antitrust. Because they're going to go, either they're going to blow you away or they're going to give you something that isn't fitting the criteria. And we've looked for oaths and bonds and stuff before, and that's, I'm not saying not to do that. I'm saying, though, go to the election stuff, right? This is after they're in office. Go to the thing that said they were elected for office and say, well, prove that you were elected for office. County auditor, well, we read that, right? But it said forthwith make and subscribe on its statement of return a certificate of, okay, so they're doing the same thing. The said board, the Board of County Canvassers now, make and subscribe on its statement of returns. So we got something called a statement of return, and so you'd be looking to say, okay, where does it say it's a statement of return? Well, it should say it at the top. And they should subscribe, which means, they write it out. A certificate of such determination. Or they're going to subscribe a certificate that has the words on it, better said. Right, the certificate of determination, that's like a notary certificate at the bottom of the piece of paper. They got them for an oath, or this is a certified copy, or this is an affidavit, or whatever it is. Well, they got one for determinations of elections. It's just the words they're going to use. So county auditor, oath, bond, goes on and on. Vacancy, this is what we talked about already, right? Removal from office. Well, that's what's going to happen because he isn't really holding the office. County auditor, appointment to fill vacancy, oath, bond, term. Now this is what's happening, see, because the guy that's elected isn't elected. They know he's not elected. That's why none of that stuff was put in there. They're going to say that he had some kind of defect. He couldn't be elected. But otherwise, he fit the criteria, so he's going to be appointed from this other jurisdiction. I believe the other jurisdiction is whoever the receiver in bankruptcy is. And so they're going to appoint somebody to the office. If a vacancy occurs in the office of county auditor, a qualified person shall be appointed to fill the vacancy by a committee consisting of the presiding or senior judge of probate, the county clerk, and the prosecuting attorney of the county. If we could ever determine who they were, those are the three. Those are the three biggies. But it doesn't mean it's the probate judge, the guy sitting under the sign that says probate. Or that the county clerk is the clerk that's behind the, this is lowercase county clerk, and when I walk into the county clerk's office in Michigan, it's uppercase. I don't have to believe those two are the same. I don't believe the prosecuting attorney is who they're talking about. The prosecuting attorney is, if this county is in the unincorporated federal district, is a federal prosecutor. Right? Because the state's been vacated. The offices aren't filled. It's like, we're living in the unincorporated federal district. And they're appointing people to hold these offices that should be in the state from a different jurisdiction where they don't have to have an oath, bond, and so forth like they would in the state. But when they're coming when they then take the office and come to us, they don't come to us with clean hands because they're not coming in their proper person, the name they have on their commission. I believe they're coming in the name that's, this fictitious middle initial name, which looks to me like it's the federal jurisdiction out of Washington, D.C. and they get appointed to an office. So, because of all those things, and because they're not elected according to this law, but they're pretending that they are. They got the sign up there. They got all the stuff. I mean, it looks like they are, or they're simulating a legal process, and well, that's antitrust. Okay, so Supreme Court justices shall file in his office and preserve the original statement of determination of the Board of State Canvassers, right? Secretary of State. And hey, I didn't realize this before. I got to say something before I forget. In Michigan, if you go to get a driver's license, right, which I haven't for a long time, but I know when you go in there, they kind of like off to one side, they have somebody who's the Secretary of State, and then like the rest is for the driver's license type stuff. But the person who's actually in charge of that Secretary of State's office has all the powers of the Secretary of State. And we need to find a way to use that, right? But that person there is representing the Secretary of State within the jurisdiction. It's a local state office. I don't believe the place, where you get in line to get your driver's license, but there's somebody, I'm trying to remember how I saw it, like in ours to the right, in Greenville, it seemed to me, there's a sign, there's a Secretary of State. There's actually an office back there. So, I'm going to find something to go down there and ask about it better. And the thing that I'm going to be asking about is the authorization or permit for use of the right-of-way, because you may have a driver's license, and whether you have one or not, I really don't care. All that shows you know how to drive a car, but it's not a permit to be on the right-of-way. And yeah, I know you think you don't need to have one, but that isn't necessarily true either, because the right-of-way is built on private property. All the private landowners own the land that the road's on. And so, for what it's worth, the Secretary of State, local, that person, there's one person, I believe you got a Secretary of State's office who's representing the Secretary of State and has all the powers of the Secretary of State. And you can get that person's seal on your paperwork. Well, that's for the Secretary of State. But back to Michigan, circuit court judges. Now we're getting to things we need to talk about, right? Certificate of determination by the Board of State Canvassers. Who does it? The Board of State Canvassers. It's not a county office. It's a state office. Right? So if they gave you something from the county, you'd say, well, this is a state office. Board of State Canvassers. What are they going to do? Well, the Board of State Canvassers shall determine which candidate or candidates of the office of judge of the circuit court receive the greatest number of votes and declare such candidate. Well, that sounds like they had to do with the governor. It's because it is. It's the exact same thing they have to do. The said board shall forthwith make and subscribe on its statement of returns a certificate of determination and deliver the same to the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State should have a copy of this statement of returns and a certificate of determination from the Board of State Canvassers for the circuit court judges. And the Secretary of State shall file in his office. And so you should be able to go to your local Secretary of State now at the local place, say, I want you to get me a copy of this judge's stuff. Instead of doing a frickin' FOIA to, La La Land. The Secretary of State shall file in his office and preserve the original statement and determination of the Board of State Canvassers of the result of the election, and shall forthwith execute and cause to be delivered to the person or persons thereby declared to be elected to the office of judge of circuit court a certificate of election certified by him under the great seal of the state. Outstanding. They don't have a choice. They're going to get a copy. He better have a copy of his certificate of election. Right? Because the Secretary of State is going to issue one. A certificate of election certified by the Secretary of State under the great seal of the state that man sitting there is the circuit court judge. Or he's not. And that would be election fraud. Ooh, you tell the Secretary of State they're over the elections. This is the great thing. They're over the elections. They may have a board set up that's supposed to monitor it, but it's under the Secretary of State. Municipal court judges. Oath of office. I don't know if I want to read that. But pretty much everybody does the same thing, right? Any incumbent probate judge may become a candidate in a primary election, office of which he or she is an incumbent, filing the county clerk in the probate district with the Secretary of State an affidavit of candidacy, not less than okay. So the probate judge had to file. You might be able to use this, right? Because this would be a good guy to find. This isn't the probate judge that everybody might think of. This is the lowercase probate judge that everybody should find. Because he's got jurisdiction over the property within his jurisdiction. And he can determine the owner. And if you walk up and say, well, yeah, I guess it is yours, he could do that. Declaratory judgment. And so his paperwork, it would be with the Secretary of State. Good to know. I have to read that closer. But that isn't what this is for, necessarily. But here we go. District Court Judges. Certificate of Election. Now this is the... Now we're down to the level of the traffic courts in Michigan. They had municipal courts. I talked about up here. I kind of blew past it because we don't have many municipal courts anymore. There's very few cities that have municipal courts. What they have is district courts. The Secretary of State shall file in his office and preserve the original statement and determination of the Board of State Canvassers of the result of the election and shall forthwith execute and deliver to the persons thereby declared to be elected to the office of judge of the district court a certificate of election certified by him under the great seal of the state. Jeepers. I bet you we'd be able to say this in our sleep if we were to read every one of these. But we don't have to. Judge, where is your certificate of election certified by the Secretary of State in accordance with Michigan Compiled Law 168.467H? I brought you a copy. Filing nominating petitions, qualifying petitions, right? So this is the other end of the election, right? I kind of went through the stuff about, hey, because you're going to court and there's already a judge there. But this is the other end, right? That where you can see if they did it proper or not. Because when filing a nominating petition, qualifying petition, filing fee or affidavit of candidacy for a federal, county, state, city, township, village, metropolitan district, or school district office in any election, a candidate shall file with the office with whom the petition's fees and affidavits is filed 2 copies of an affidavit of identity. Right? So if they have an affidavit of identity, well, that's swearing who they are, right? And that better be the name they're using on them pieces of paper. They keep saying that, well, from the office, I'm going to go ahead and sign this now. Well, you better be signing it using your proper name that you certified on an affidavit of identity as part of qualifying to be nominated for an election. A candidate nominated, same thing, at a political party convention or caucus shall file an affidavit of identity with 1 business day. Well, apparently they have to, in Michigan, they have to file an affidavit of identity for all the offices. It shall contain the candidate's name, address, ward, precinct, where registered. Because we want to see if they're registered. Are they qualified registered? Because to run for office, you need to be a registered, qualified elector. Not a registered voter, qualified voter. No, registered, qualified elector. That's what it is in Michigan. If qualified to vote at that election, a statement that the candidate is a citizen of the United States and the candidate's number of years as a resident in this state and the county. If a candidate is using a name that is not the name that he or she was given at birth, the candidate shall include on the affidavit of identity the candidate's full former name. If the candidate is using a name that is not a name that he or she has given at birth, the candidate shall include on an affidavit of identity the candidate's full former name. What is the name that's on your birth certificate? I bet you don't have no middle initials. An affidavit identity shall include a statement that, as of the date of the affidavit, all statements reporting filing fees required have been filed or paid. Okay, officer shall. I don't know. We need to read all this. I think I really covered the stuff I wanted, and that was mainly let's make it a matter of it's a matter of trust, and you can file antitrust complaints with the Secretary of State, or excuse me, antitrust complaints with the Attorney General, and I believe you can do it with the Attorney General of the United States. You can do it with the FTC. I don't know if it's the same, but it is the same. It's antitrust, but one is commerce and one is fiduciary duty. And if there's a difference, well, then there is. If there isn't, well, then you give it to the FTC too. You can put it in your court case. Take judicial notice that the judge wasn't properly elected to this office. It's not provided any evidence that they hold the office. I believe this to be a simulated legal process using color law and antitrust activity. Statement of votes. The statements. In said statements, the whole number of votes given in each office name. Yeah, okay, that goes in someplace with county canvassers. Again, this is all upside down. I was pulling things out this time. I wanted to talk about this first. So, but they have determinations and declarations of election, right? Shall determine and declare, things like that. You want to find something. When you find it one place, if you can copy and paste it and search on it, you'll find it used all over the place in all these other offices. And then if you need to take in the exact law for whatever office you're talking about to get somebody's attention, well, you can. It's not that big a deal. Right, because without delay, to the Secretary of State, a copy of such certificate of determination certified by said county clerk under hand and seal of the office. That was for somebody's office. Right, so it's good stuff. More on this later, but again, I'm doing it mainly because I know people got court things to deal with, and there may be a quick way to take care of it, because if they don't, see, you can go to the Secretary of State, because the Secretary of State, at least in Michigan, is over elections. And the Secretary of State is near as your local DMV or licensing department. There is somebody down there who represents the Secretary of State, and yeah, they may not want to admit it, and they may act stupid and so forth, but have whatever it is you want to do, go down there and give it to them and have it in writing. Try to talk to them about it. If they don't like it, say, well, you've been served. Give it to the Secretary of State. I'll wait to hear from her, and walk out the door. Right? I don't know what's going to happen, but I know up until then they didn't have to do anything, and now you've left them paper. Right? Don't take the damn paper with you. Leave it there. You can write another one. Okay. I'm going to go here and just real quick just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, here's something. We might be able to scare the crap out of them, right? You could take in a copy of this. Prohibited conduct, violation as a felony. That usually gets people's attention. An inspector of election, clerk, or other officer or person having custody of any record, election list of any voters, affidavit, right? Because we saw people have affidavits. Return, statement of votes, certificates, poll book, or other paper documents, or vote of any description with pursuant to the act directed to be made, filed, preserved, shall not willfully destroy, mutilate, deface, falsify, fraudulently remove, or secrete any or all items in whole or in part, fraudulently make any entry, erasure, alteration, or any and all of these items, or permit any other person to do so. So if they hand you something that you've asked for a specific thing, and they give you something that doesn't fit it, and it looks like they're trying to fit it in to make it, to make you go away, you can say, brother, are you sure this is what you want to get me? I believe this to be, wouldn't this be a violation as a felony of this section? Why don't you go ask your attorney, get some legal advice? and do them a favor. Right? Because again, I'm not blaming them, but I'm not putting up with their crap. Okay, that's really about it, guys. It is all about elections. It's all about a lot of things, but one of them certainly is about elections and the fact that nobody's elected. All the offices are vacated. So quit trying to go to them. We need to find the receiver and say they're not doing their job. Very good. We'll see y'all. Take care.